Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the pen tool, right? So the pen tool is a little bit different than if you've worked in Illustrator. There's a little other keyboard shortcuts that we can work with. The idea is it's a Bezier curve, which means we can make all these really interesting kind of curves that are going on. So when we look at this, and just as far as the tutorial, what we're going to look at is how to make some of these shapes that are here. Now I've kind of left in my points so you can follow along with that. So you can see where I kind of made my points, and that's just a good starting point, and then we'll kind of get into other things. So the first thing is when you select a pen tool, I want you to go up here to the little gear and turn on Rubberband. If it's not on, turn it on because it allows me to see where my next point is. Do you see that next point? If it's off, right, I'll show you. You don't see that. So you're almost like, okay, well, what am I going to do? It's making that, but you don't see it. So that rubber band tool is really important. You can change if you want the thickness or if you want it to be another color. Keep it the blue. Blue's a good option. So the first thing to realize is as I'm drawing this, and you can see there's already one because I created it. As I start to make a path, you can see it turns into what's called a work path. So as I complete it, this is a work path. Now, if I close this document, open it back up, the work path is not there. So if I want to save that, we're dragging this down to new to make it an actual path, and it'll be saved in your document. All right, so let's first go ahead and make these first shapes, and then we'll kind of get into these other ones and how do we deal with other things that we're going on. So if you want to make straight lines, hold down shift. So I'm going to click a point here, hold down shift, click another point, hold down shift, hold down shift, and hold down shift, right? And you see when I got back to that point, it made a circle that's there. So let's back up. See the circle? That means it's joining it back together, and I can click that, and there it is. From here, I could go to my paths, and I could make it a selection. I could also say, okay, well, I would like to stroke that. Well, that's making it work path, which I have. Right? So you could do some other things to this, right? Create a new path and so forth. So if I have the work path selected, if I click on my brush, right? Why isn't it letting me do that? It should let me, oh, maybe because it's not a path. All right, make a selection with that. Oh, because it's not on a new layer. So now, because it had to be on a new layer so I could fill it with something. So now I could take this and I could fill the path, right? I could also stroke the path, right? Now that strokes with whatever brush is active. So let's go to a smaller brush. And let's go ahead and do stroke. Right, it's on red, it's hard to see. So there it is, then the stroked path that's there. So you can do, so the path is not active until you do anything to it, kind of like a selection in Photoshop. So let's look at some of my other things that I can do. So let's go into this as well. Just gonna create a new layer so we're not on this. So if I wanted to create a curve, right? So this part was easy. If I want to create a curve from here to here, I'm going to click and hold, and you see I'm going to match that point that's there. Okay, so from here, you can see my next thing would be curves. If I want to kind of like deaden that so it starts from no curve, if I hold down the Option key and click on that point, you can see it goes from 0. I can now make straight points from that. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to get that here and close it up there. Okay, so going on to the next one, if I click here, and again, I'm going to click to this next point and I'm going to draw my curve, but here's the trick with the pen tool, is I'm going to draw my handlebars kind of in the direction of where my next point is going to go. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be dead on. And you can see now that should line up. We're going to click down here and we're going to do the same thing in reverse, drag that handlebars up. And then this one. Now, here's a really good point. So now I'm here and I could get that, but let's say I'm not. I can hold down Option, and you see I can drag a single handlebar. Or if I hold down Command, it gets me the white arrow tool, and I could kind of manipulate those as well. Right, so the white one, if I haven't converted it already, I can do both of them. As soon as I hold down Option and drag one out, now if I hold Command, you can see I'm only grabbing one. It converts it to adjust it. I'm going to hold down Option, click my point, so it dead ends it and creates a single shape. So we are here. I'm going to drag all the way across here. Right, I'm never going to make this point here. I have to do it halfway in between. Click and drag, and I'm going to extend that out here. We'll go there. Right, extend that out again. And then we're going to go back to the beginning. So those are your basic shapes working with the pen tool. All right, well, what if we had, just kind of clear those away. What if we have some more complex shapes? All right, so let's look at those, right? So I'm going to drag my points here and go down here again, drag out horizontally. That should match up. I'm going to drag here. And then I'm going to hold down Option to deaden it so we get that corner point from the start. Drag that here. And let's see if I can make this work. I can, but again, I need to hold down Option, click there so I get a straight point. Here, right? We're just creating some straight points. Let's see if I can get this in one. And I can hold down Option again, click on that point and bring it back. Now again, if I want to make a selection of this, I can go in here to my paths and I can click on here to make a selection. I can also use the shortcut Command Return will also give me that. So let's do this and I'll just fill that shape. So now that shape is now a layer and there it is. I could also conversely do the reverse. So if I have a selection, I can say, you know what, let's make that into a path. Right, so I can either do make work path. And we're going to say 1.0. It's just the tightest work path. And you can see now I get that into a path. And now we're going to drag it down here to make a path. I could also have that as a selection and go down here and say make work path. Right? There it is. Same way to get to two different results. So now let's say we're down here. And let's zoom in here. We get the pen tool. To make this corner, right, we're just going to make a really small angle that's here. Now these are just straight lines that I'm making, right? I'm holding down the shift to get me to straight lines. And we're going to pull this here like this. And you can say, all right, well, what does this have to do with Photoshop? Why would I need to be able to use this in Photoshop? Like, this is just the basics to be able to kind of get you able to do this. But if you want to cut out objects, for example, and anytime you want to cut out objects is a great way to do this. Sorry, I lost my train of thought in the middle of what I was saying. Cutting out objects is essential in Photoshop to like making a comped image, and that's what we're getting to, right? The idea that if you can do this, you can then cut out a person from something. And yeah, Photoshop has made these great strides with, you know, masking or with quick selection and tools like that. But there's times where you're going to have to cut things out with the pen tool. By the way, if I have this and I ever wanted to like add a point, you can see I can hover anywhere along here and there's a little plus sign that's there and you can see it added a point. Now I can use Command to hold down and you can see I can extend that right from there. I could also go into any point holding Command down in the pen tool. Click on it and I get, now I can make adjustments, right? So if I needed to adjust that based upon other things. So let's look at our last one is doing something like this. Again, we're going to go to the pen tool, click down. We're going to click down here because if I want to make this curve, I can't do it in the middle of this. So we're going to go down and make sure this is pretty dead on here. And you can see I'm not getting exactly to that point, and I'm not getting here. So let's go ahead and make this, but we're going to make it along this path. But let's say now I want to adjust this, right? You see I'm just holding Command down, and you can see I'm making this nice adjustment that's here, right? And this one needs a little bit of adjusting, so we're going to adjust that too. And now we can go here and make those things. Right, so the idea to be able to adjust is really important. Right, and you see I'm extending this path, kind of going along the angle of what I want to do, and then we finish it up, and there you go. Right, so that's the basics of using the pen tool. You can do lots of things with this. As you'll see in the next video, this is just the basics, and we'll get into how to cut an object out.